Hello everyone. As you might already know, companies in the UK were required to publish their gender pay gap statistics this week on April the 5th. And I just wanted to comment on some of the reporting that I've seen in the news, especially in the BBC, that has been publishing rather a lot of articles about the gender pay gap over the past 3 days. The last time I counted, it was 15 separate articles about it, articles and videos. The gender pay gap that's most regularly been reported is the median difference in the hourly earnings between men and women, both part-time and full-time, usually presented by company. Overall, it seems the gap is about 18 to 19%. And to the credit of the reporters, they actually have done a better job than I was expecting in reporting why the gender pay gap exists. Most articles that I've read about it have acknowledged that the gap is due to men and women being in different roles generally inside an organisation. So often women tend to be employed in the lower paid positions, and none of the articles are actually explicitly claiming that men and women are being paid differently for the same work, which I'm happy to see, actually. I'm pretty glad that they aren't pushing that particular myth, but they are still pushing this narrative that women are being paid less by the companies as some sort of result of sexism or discrimination, and that it's the company's fault that women are being employed in these lower paid parts of the company, in lower paid positions. I don't think that's really the case. I don't know. None of the articles have gone into any reasons why it might be the company's fault, except to say that the jobs that are high paying aren't flexible enough, and that women who are mothers are not taking high paying positions enough because they have childcare responsibilities. That is probably true. That is actually contributing to the pay gap, I expect, but to use that to explain the entire 19% pay gap is a little bit ridiculous. I don't think there are lots of women working in retail and in warehouses and working as cleaners who are mothers who are just waiting to take up that management position as soon as childcare responsibilities are taken care of for them. I just don't think that's accurate. There's lots of things going on in people's lives that cause them to take high earning, high responsibility, highly trained positions, and high stress positions, I might add, as opposed to these 9-to-5 jobs or low experience, low skill jobs that it seems that many women are taking. Something that's constant among all of these articles is that they are addressing the gender pay gap as a problem that needs to be solved or closed, as they call it. They want the gender pay gap to be closed, meaning they want it to be 0%, which I think is a completely unrealistic expectation. Even if every single company in the UK provided free, excellent childcare and flexible hours to all of its members of staff and advertise it as such, I don't think the pay gap would be zero. I don't think the companies can be blamed for this. There's a lot of things that are going into social norms and gender norms. Of course, James Damore went into this in his memo at Google that got him fired for saying that some of the contributing factors might be biological. I'm not an expert in how biological sex determines the brain or people's interests or motivations, so I can't say for sure whether there's any biological effects or not. There could be, it seems possible to me that there could be, but there also might be societal influences that are causing men and women to take different jobs and be interested in different things. The idea of social conditioning is not particularly convincing to me, but again, I'm not a sociologist or a biologist. I can't really say what is causing men and women to take different life choices, but it seems that they are, and to force them to do otherwise is probably the only way that you could close the gender pay gap if you wanted it to be absolutely 0%. If the government passed a law that required all companies to provide excellent childcare for any children of their employees, or perhaps government-run childcare like a public school but for 0 to 5-year-olds, I still think that women would rather stay at home, or at least I still think that there would be a significant population of women who would want to take time off work to give personal care to their children, who value that and who would enjoy doing that more than they would enjoy going out and working, and women who want to give that extra amount of care and attention to their children and to their home. Whether it's a biological instinct that's causing women to want to take care of children more than men do, or whether it's a societal construct and gender norms and cultural programming that's causing this difference, I still think it's not in anybody's power to change that. Cultural norms don't change because companies change their rules or because the law passes legislation. You can't just change how men and women act and how those things differ to each other on the average. So I don't think it's anybody's responsibility to close the wage gap. If it became illegal tomorrow for anybody to reproduce and have children, then you might start to see women get paid a little bit more. They won't be taking time off to take care of their children. They won't have to be constrained to flexible hours or any of these factors that are apparently keeping them down. And yet I still think there would be different choices being made by men and women. And I expect the government would never pass any laws that would forbid reproduction and child rearing. Theresa May has called the pay gap infuriatingly unjust or unfair, or I can't remember the exact words. And I think it's worth noting that she was the Minister for Women and Equality from 2010 to 2012, which I only just found out recently, which sort of makes her comments make a little bit more sense. But the question that I'd really like to ask Theresa May and these reporters is unjust on the part of who? Who is being blamed for this injustice against women, for these disparities in the jobs that women take compared to men and the hours that they work compared to men? Who is at fault? Certainly, if you believe in social conditioning causing gender differences, then perhaps you could blame the parents of these women for teaching them to take low-paying jobs or putting gender norms in their head that makes them think they need to take care of their children personally, rather than letting their husband take that responsibility. I don't understand why it would be unjust on the part of the companies employing them, unless the company is paying men and women differently for the same job, which it is illegal to do, and which I don't think these statistics are not even showing whether that is even the case, or these statistics are not even revealing that injustice, which I would agree is an injustice, to pay two people differently for doing the same work of the same quality and the same quantity. But that isn't what's happening, and that isn't what these statistics are showing. So who is committing this injustice? Anyway, that's just some thoughts that I had when looking at the reporting for this. I'd like to add at the end here that April is Testicular Cancer Awareness Month, and I made a video about how to check yourself for testicular cancer, for men obviously, a couple of days ago. Please, if you're a man, check yourself for testicular cancer, and if you want to know tips on how to do that effectively, then either research it online or you can watch my video, which I'll leave up at the end here. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you again very soon.